Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Personal Projects Fair of MYP Grade 10 students of CKS College. In a little while, you will witness the products of our students' consolidation of learning through yearling inquiry and development of important ATL skills they'll need in both further education and life beyond the classroom. Through these projects, students develop confidence to become principled lifelong learners. To the parents and to the personal project supervisors, we thank you for the support you had extended to these students for the success of their projects. I myself have witnessed how they inquired and applied their ATL skills and developed to become independent learners. Apart from practicing and strengthening their approaches to learning skills, the personal project encourages students to develop an area of personal interest. The personal project provides an excellent opportunity for students to produce a truly personal and often creative product or outcome and to demonstrate a consolidation of their learning in the MYP. Thank you very much, and we hope you will enjoy the presentation of our students.
Congratulations, MYP students! MYP 的同学们，恭喜你们完成了自己的个人计划。For MYP students, personal projects are the culminating projects for you to demonstrate the ATL skills that you have learned and prove us that you are ready to move forward to the DP program. I believe looking back at the process, all of you will agree that the efforts you put in are worth it. I hope in this journey you have understand that you have an active and constant role in your learning. It may not always seem like it, but you are in control of your own failure or success. Congratulations again and see you in the DP program. 恭喜大家 ，DP 见了，恭喜哦！
Greetings everyone, I am Ms. Angelica Anghaya, MYP Personal Project Mentor. Today, I am proud to introduce to you my 5 mentees who worked extremely well to produce a product of their passion. To start with, we will have Ching Charles Nathaniel, who worked on a series of tutorial videos about chess, followed by Lim Lance Xavier, who created a comprehensive video about swimming 101 for beginners. Next is Madrigal Jenny Rose, who created a comic book about dealing with challenges and celebrating life in the midst of pandemic. Next, Tolentino Wayne Ian, who created a game highlighting the pre-colonial history of the Philippines. And last but not the least, Ong Carlos Benedict, who created an informative website about mental health awareness.
Hello everyone, my name is Charles Ching, MYP Grade 10, and I'm about to talk about my personal project. The 5 things that I'm about to talk about is how I started with my personal project, how I investigate, how I do planning, and also do taking actions and even reflections. And let's start with my PPT, which the introduction is tutorial video about chess. So this is my personal project. So the table of contents that I'm going to do is doing investigation, planning, taking actions, and doing reflections. My goal is to teach beginners on how to play chess because chess is fun to play and it's really challenging. Global context. My global context is personal and cultural expressions. Challenges. The challenges I have faced is doing a tutorial video, which is my first time, and teaching beginners on digital, which is really difficult because I personally not good at doing digital teaching rather than doing like in real life. So the next one is software editing, which I'm really bad at it. These are the challenges that I have faced during my personal project. prior learning. Every person has different techniques and styles in chess. What I noticed that a lot of beginners have different techniques and styles that they have found while they're playing chess, which is really, really good because finding new styles and techniques would lead you to your first adventure doing your chess, and you're exploring more about chess and using your knowledge and thinking skills. So let me talk about my background story, which when I was a kid, I started playing chess on my father's laptop. I was watching how my father was playing chess at that time, and I took interest in it. And at first, I don't know how to use the pieces in chess, so I keep on learning about it. Eventually, I learned every pieces and how are they used. So when I was a kid, I'm really, really bad at chess. I keep on losing to the computer because computers are really good at chess. So that's how I got my thinking and knowledgeable skills, by learning how the computer plays. That's how I started to play chess. Research. I research about YouTube videos and websites and what is the importance in chess. I also researched about topics about defense and openings in chess, and even different checkmate styles. I also watch chess videos to help me on how to create a tutorial video, and I also found new techniques and styles in chess by playing with my friends, which is really, really important. That's how I use my thinking and knowledge skills, and I keep on improving by playing chess with my friend. The next one that I'm going to do is to do planning. So I made 4 criteria, which is the content, the timing, organization, and video quality. For the content, I explain on what's happening in my video. For the timing, I also made 20 minutes maximum. For the organization, I researched it and show it in the video. For the video quality, I made it smooth and clear explanation. For my schedule, during October, I researched topic-related videos in chess, and I also created my very first own script for my first video. During November, I recorded by using my script, and I have already finished editing my first video, and I've already had my first tutorial chess video. And I also managed to create my second script during the end of November. And during December, I created my third script and my fourth script. And my advisor told me to put more informations in my third script and my fourth script by the end of December. And by January, by January to February, I finished all of my scripts, and by February, I managed to recorded 4 videos during that time. And the end of February, I have already finished all of my videos for my personal project. For the taking action, I have explained on how to use the pieces in chess. So for example, is the pawn. How do we use the pawn? So basically the pawn moves 2 boxes or 1 box. But when you already move 2 boxes, you can when it's your turn, then you cannot move 2 more boxes with the pawn. And how do we eat using the pawn, which is the pawn eats diagonally? For example, this is my pawn, and then this is my opponent's pieces, and it diagonally eats this rook, which is near to the pawn. For my second video, I have talked about types of defenses in chess. So I made 3 examples, which is the Sicilian defense, the Dutch defense, and the French defense. This example is the Sicilian defense, which white pawn goes to e4, black pawn goes to c5. And what you can do there is you can move your horse, move your bishop, because the horse and the bishop are a good start to move, because both of them are good at offense and defense. And basically, defense is you have to protect your king. Now I'm going to talk about different types of center control. Basically, what center control is these 4 boxes in the middle, which is at e4, d4, d5, and e5. So basically, what center control does, it gives us the advantage to have great defense and great offense, and also our pieces can have a lot of mobility. So I made 2 examples, which is the Italian game and the Ruy Lopez. So I've shown the Italian game there in the presentation. So how do we do the Italian game? Which pawn to e4, black pawn to e5, white horse to f3, black horse goes to c6, white's bishop goes to c4, and attacking this pawn right here at f7, which gives white an advantage, because this is the weakness of black, which the king can only defend this white pawn right here. And I recommend this kind of technique against black. And let's move to the next one. I'm going to talk about different types of checkmate in chess, which is my 4th video. You don't have to copy what I did there, as long as you checkmate your opponent. So this is what I call the queen checkmate. So basically, the queen is facing the king vertically, and the king doesn't have anywhere to go since the rook is blocking the king, and we call it as a checkmate. So the next one that I'm going to talk about are the mistakes of the beginners in chess. I made 5, but here I made 1 example, which is develop minor pieces. So how do we develop minor pieces is when you move your pawn first, then you can now move either your bishop or your horse. And this is what we call develop minor pieces, which is a good move to make, good for defense and also good for offense. Now I'm going to talk about the reflection. So I made 4 criteria, which is the content, timing, organization, and audio-video quality. So for the yellow, my video is good, green is better, red needs improvement. And these are the feedbacks of my classmates. So for the yellow, 50% like my video, which is good enough. 25% really loves my video. And for the red, 25% told me to do improvement. Same as the timing, which the difference is the green got 50% and then the orange got 25%. Same as the organization, as the timing, and then the audio video quality is the same as the content. Now, let's go to what I have learned. So the question is, how completing the project has extended my knowledge and understanding of the topic and the global context. Upon completing of this project, I have learned more about chess. The 5 video chess that I am going to explain to you, which is the first one, is I talked about the basic tutorial video. It talks about how the pieces work and how are they used for. For the second one, I talked about the defense in chess. And for example, there are 3 famous chess defense were the Sicilian defense, the Dutch defense, and the French defense. And then the third video talks about the chess openings, and I made 2 examples, which is the Ruy Lopez and the Italian game. For the fourth video, it talks about different kinds of checkmate in chess, and the last one talks about the fifth video, which the mistakes of the beginners, and I explained of how it can improve in the video. So the topic of my global context is my personal and cultural expressions, because in chess, you need to practice not just one day, but years of training for you to become a pro player. It acquires knowledge, strategies, and how you deal with the situation that you're in. What is the development of my IB learner through the project? I have improved my thinking skills, organization skills, and research skills through the project, because my project needs those types of skills, and to improve those kinds of skills, I must find a better answer and develop different types of possibilities in chess. And as an IB student, this project helped me a lot by improving my skills. And that's it. Thank you!
Hello everyone, I'm Lance Xavier Lim, and this is my personal project. Today, I will be showing everyone how I investigated for my personal project, how I planned for it, how I did it, and how I reflected after doing it. For our first part, investigating. When I was thinking of what I wanted to do for my personal project, I first thought about my personal interests. And one thing that struck out to me the most was that I loved learning about swimming. Training, maybe not so much, but I definitely love learning new things and finding out that I was going faster. I like learning about swimming, that's why I have been a swimmer for approximately 8 years already. I also love teaching people who ask for help. I would usually answer my classmates' questions about topics they don't understand if they don't know the answers. So, I thought I would consider teaching in my personal project. Because of this, I decided that I would make a video that will give tips on how to swim. The video will help swimmers improve their swimming and make them faster. The video would also help beginners learn the basics of swimming. I want others to appreciate swimming as a sport and a life skill, and I want it to be something that everyone enjoys as much as myself. My global context for my personal project will be fairness and development, focusing more on the development side because I want to share my love for swimming and I aim to develop the skills of people who watch my video. I also have a lot of prior knowledge on this subject because I have been under a lot of coaches, so I made a style that I find to be the best. I can also try to imitate the teaching style of my coaches, which has helped me learn more techniques. For my research, all I did was compile all of the information that my coaches have taught me and pick the most important ones, take them into the video. I also put my experiences with my techniques and how they have helped me improve. So once I've done all of that, it's already time to get started with planning. My planning stage went pretty smoothly. I made an outline, a really long outline on what I wanted to do on my video. And I made this where I compiled all of my research into. As you can see, I go very in depth discussing any individual topic to make sure that the audience can comprehend what I am saying. I made sure to pay more attention to the four strokes more, like butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle, because those are probably the main reasons why people would want to watch my video. I listed all of the information I gathered from my coaches and put all of the most important pieces of information here. This is just an outline though, so I go more in depth in explaining these in my script and video. I made an outline for all 10 parts of my video, as you can see here, from parts 1, 2 to 9 and 10, so I could be guided properly to what I'm gonna say. Here is a glimpse of my 10-page script that I made to that I made that I wrote. I wrote everything that I said in the video here and how I wanted to edit it. This document has everything that I put on the video. So as you can see, it has 10 pages and I wrote my script per part. I updated it every week for around 10 weeks. And then once this was done, I started on filming the video. So you see here, I put what I wanted to show on screen, what I wanted to say, how I wanted to edit the voiceover, so on and so forth. I also made myself a criteria because people would eventually use this to grade their experience in watching the video. That's all for my planning. After finishing my script in around 10 weeks, I started filming the video little by little. It was pretty fun filming the video. I filmed most of the video in the pool of my aunt's house. Thank you very much to her. And I filmed the last part of the video in a beach in Lobao, Batangas because I figured that it would be really beautiful to finish off my swimming video in the beach. And of course, I edited the video in my house by myself. The filming process was done mostly by my mother. My father helped a bit, but my mother filmed most of the scenes in the video. The underwater videos were filmed using a GoPro Hero 5, and the videos above water were filmed by an iPhone 10, and the clips were organized and edited by me using iMovie. Here are some pictures of the films that I used in the video, and here is my editing process. You can see 3 videos here because I would run out of storage every time I would edit a video. So I would save this video, delete all of the videos I used to edit, and then use this video in this video and so on and so forth. Here, you can see me editing the audio, the text, and what I want to show in the video. Here are some slow mode parts, and this is the voiceover, this is the background music. And yeah, that's all for my editing. After all of that editing and hard work, I finally got my final product after around 6 months, I think. So here's the link in case you want to watch it. And this is my channel, Swimming Universe. You can watch this video, just search Swimming 101 and scroll down a bit, and I would actually appear. The thumbnail was made using Adobe Draw. I drew it myself. And yeah, that's my final product. So finally, I will start reflecting on what I've done this personal project, starting with peer evaluation, of course. A lot of people gave me 4 for content using the criteria that I presented a while ago. Well, yeah, most people gave me 4s, and one of them gave me a 3 for making connections. And this is their feedback from the question, did you learn anything from watching the video? Most of them figured that they learned the basics and they learned how to properly swim, different forms of swimming strokes, and their functions. And this was the main objective of my video, to help people learn about the basics, because once you learn about the basics, you can stack up strength uh, anytime you want, and you would go faster. Here are some comments from my YouTube video. And this is a comment from one of my coaches, which told me that my video was very informative and very easy to understand. The video shares tips ranging from beginner to competitive level, and a lot of basic and advanced tips for each stroke were explained well. Well done. So for him, he thought that my video could be of use to both beginners and veterans alike. Here are some random people that actually watched through my video and commented. And here are some feedbacks from my parents' friends. And this is my coach. This is another one of my coaches. Uh, he basically said that the video was pretty long and I only made one mistake, and that the 50-degree angle for push off is supposed to be 90 degrees. That's the only mistake that he saw, but overall, he thought that it was also a good video. Here's a friend of my mom's, and she said that my instructions were different from when she took lessons 50 years ago from maybe an Olympian. And I think the reason for that is the way I swim is different, because it's more tailored to using as less strength as possible, because I'm a pretty thin individual and I don't really have that much strength. So I would just instead focus on the lightness of my body and how to make it glide more smoothly in the water. As she says, my movements are also very fluid, so it looks like I swim very easily. Your swim would also look like this if you follow my advices. Here, I graded myself with my self-feedback, and I think for content, I'd give myself a 4. I am rather impressed with myself because I provided all of the most important information I could provide, and the information is reliable since I tested all of it, and all of them resulted in me getting faster. My coaches confirmed that the information I gave was correct, and the topics were explained clearly, and I went very in-depth in the video. I'd also give myself a 4 for presentation because I presented all of this information using layman's terms so that people can understand what I'm saying. I didn't really include the lingo that we usually use in swimming because some beginners might not understand. I also organized the video into 10 neatly arranged parts. I even provided timestamps so people can easily navigate towards the topics that they want to see. I'd also give myself a 4 for making connections because I have an entire segment dedicated to giving you tips that you could use to all of the strokes. I also made some references to other strokes while discussing other strokes, like how I would relate fly with backstroke and how I would relate freestyle to backstroke as well. I would also often compare two strokes with each other to help people understand what they should do with their body. What similar thing, all of the four strokes are really quite similar. The body position that you should have is basically just the same. So I made sure to make that clear in the video. I learned a lot from this experience and that and I applied a lot of the IB Learner profile. In Inquirer, when I asked questions from my coach, Caring for thinking about the beginners who want to watch my video, Communicator for communicating what I want to say effectively through the media provided, Open-minded for accepting people's criticisms, knowledgeable for sharing my knowledge, and reflective for reflecting on all of the knowledge I've learned for 8 years. Not just that, but also reflecting on what I've done in this personal project. Thinker to think of what could make me go faster, what could make me improve, and what could make the video more entertaining and stuff. And balance, so I could balance my time doing this personal project and doing other schoolworks and fun time with family. I also applied a lot of ATL skills, self-management, like how I applied balance, research skills, asking my coaches, reflecting, and searching sites, surfing YouTube, communicating skills by effectively communicating what I want to say through YouTube, reflection skills, like what I'm doing now, and creative thinking skills to think of what techniques would make people improve as much as I did. That's it for my personal project presentation. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, I would answer all of them. Thank you very much.
Good day everyone! I am Jenny Rose Madrigal, and for today, I will be talking about my personal project. Here are the table of contents that I will be discussing throughout this presentation. One is investigating, planning, taking action, and reflecting. The first part is investigating. My hobbies and interests that are linked to my project are drawing and reading comic books, manhwa, and webtoon. My goal is to create a comic book that shows how to still appreciate and celebrate life in the midst of pandemic. This goal is challenging to me because I have to research some facts and apply it in illustration for my comic book. I also need to know how I will create my comic book to convey the message that is easily understood to the readers. I want to let people know that even in this pandemic, life is hard, but we can still show and teach people to be thankful and count life's blessing. It is also to lessen those who are losing hope and feeling depressed but because of this pandemic. I chose a comic book as my type of product because this can give the readers enjoyment, providing some encouragement to people who are facing difficulties. It is easy to convey the message when you read the book. My global context is identities and relationships. I will be exploring physical, mental, and human relationships, including families, friends, and communities that will show our humanity during this pandemic time. The things that I have already know before doing the project is that I have read some news on social media that many people are having depression, anxiety, and suicidal attempts because of this pandemic due to quarantine and lockdown. Through visual arts, I've learned how I am able to convey the message, learned new techniques on how my illustrations will be good. I also know how to draw and some basic information on what is a comic book look like. I have also provided research about anxiety, stress, and depression. I have researched the symptoms, what it is, how to prevent it, and how to cope with it. Aside from those, I also researched on creating a comic book that provides some tips and a step-by-step procedure. So here are the documents of my researches. The second part is planning. I have made a criteria that could assess my product. It includes the cover page of the comic book, clarity, characters, dialogue, and images. I've also created a Google document that could track my plans, which is creating characters, the settings, conflict or solutions, and the story plot. On my process journal, I made a sketch for my characters and comic book cover. For this one, I placed here the sketch drafts for the pages of my comic. Here are the sketches for pages 1 to 29. After that, I made the comic scripts for the dialogue. The third part is taking action. These are some pictures of me drawing my comic book. So this is the outcome that I have created. I have compiled it into one PDF file. I also made a hard copy of it. On the other side are some parts of the pages. It is the digital version of it. So this is what it looks like when it is in hard copy. Is the reflecting. After I have completed my comic book, I have made a Google form to let my peers and relatives to assess my product. 1 is the lowest and 4 is the highest. Most of their evaluation to my product were really good. Most of them gave it a 4. Most of the comments are good and overwhelming. I also did a self-feedback for my product. In my opinion, I also think that my product meets the criteria that are needed to make my comic book as a success, because when I look at my outcome, I felt very proud of myself that I have made a real comic book. What have I learned is that I learned how to create a comic book using an app called Procreate. I have improved my drawing skills throughout this process. I also developed my writing skills in telling a story. My reflection in the global context is that in each family member's cooperation and the help of friends, any hardship we faced, we can surely overcome them. In addition to this, whatever blessings we received from above, we must share with those in need. For the IB learner profile, I have balanced my time between my other subjects to finish my project on time. For Inquirer, I developed my curiosity in researching my project. Knowledgeable, I also become creative in conceptualizing ideas about my comic book. Reflective, I have learned to reflect and create my ideas based on the research that I have made to be based on my comic book story. Thinkers, I have improved my critical thinking to write the storyline. On the ATL skills, I have practiced my self-management skills by managing my time to do my project so that it will not be disturbed with my other tasks. I have also compiled my process journal in order so that I could see my progress and what I needed to do. I also made a Google document to organize all my planning parts and drafts. In research skills, I have used the data that I have gathered to be used in my story. I learned to evaluate and interpret this data. In thinking skills, I improved my critical thinking by identifying a problem and developed a goal. That's it, guys. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.
In the Philippines, 1 in 5 people suffer from a mental health problem. In a country with a population of 100 million, there are presently only 700 psychiatrists and 1,000 psychiatric nurses. By Krisha and Magtubo from the Monthly Index of Medical Specialties of the Philippines around 2016. With so many people needing help with their mental health, it's a shame that we have so few specialized doctors. But even without the doctor's help, there's something that we can do to help: spreading awareness. I am Carlos Benedict Ong of Grade 10 MYP and this is what my personal project is about. Mental health is about our well-being. It's about our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. This in turn affects how we think, how we handle stress, how we react to situations. When someone has a mental health issue, this can go unnoticed because it's something internal, unlike physical illnesses like you have a fever, you have a rash, or a bruise. It's hard to notice. And 2, it can be detrimental in the long run, especially now with the current pandemic. Our mood and status may not be that well. I recently was interested in some videos about this, like psychology, mental health, and the like, and it was really interesting to see this part about health. Usually, I was just exposed to physical well-being, dieting, nutrition, exercising, hygiene, etc. Learning about this other branch of health was intriguing and interesting. Sometimes they would mention something similar to what I had felt, and I was able to relate to what they were saying. And that knowledge was very helpful. I mean, I still didn't feel well, but at least I can explain why I'm not feeling well, I could probably write a dissertation on why. But jokes aside, that vague feeling when I'm having problems is really irritating, and it scares me. Like, why am I feeling this way? Is it normal? Are other people feeling the same way? Now that I have more than the bare minimum amount of knowledge, I can know more about what I'm feeling. And I think that can apply to other people as well. So my project aims to lessen the stigma around mental illnesses by providing accessible and accurate information. But how can I help spread mental health awareness in the Philippines despite the stigma and misinformation? And why is it relevant anyways? Like I said earlier, according to Krisha Magtubo, 1 in 5 people in the Philippines suffer from a mental health condition, and there are so few psychiatrists. Though that research was published in 2016, due to the lockdown nowadays, the numbers are not likely to dwindle. But let's look at some other sources, shall we? According to Gina Maramag of the WHO Manila, regarding mental health in 2020, though the Philippines has consistently ranked in top 5 of the Global Optimism Index, the National Center for Mental Health has revealed a significant increase in monthly hotline calls regarding depression, with numbers rising from 80 calls pre-lockdown to nearly 400. Mental health-related deaths are also the second leading cause of fatalities in this 15 to 29 age group. These numbers illustrate the need for more conversations and programs that will break the stigma around mental health. Most times, Filipinos do not feel comfortable sharing their mental health challenges for fear of alienation and prejudice. And a research interview conducted in Muntinlupa around 2018 by Chika Tanaka of the Biomed Central Psychiatry states that stigma towards people with mental health problems is known to have substantial negative impact on their lives. More in-depth exploration of the stigma and discrimination experienced by people with mental health problems in low and middle income countries is needed. Previous research suggests that negative attitudes towards people with mental health problems are widespread among the Filipino general public. The study indicates that stigma reduction strategies might have limitations in this cultural context. Therefore, we propose context-specific practical implications, like messages to increase the understanding of the challenges people with mental health problems face for the Philippines. The topic of mental health is one of identities and relationships, specifically the health of the individual, the mental health. Like what I said earlier, the main problem seems to be stigma caused by a lack of information. And as Chika Tanaka suggests, one way to battle against it is to provide information about it, to send messages regarding information about mental health problems to increase the understanding. And now that we got that out of the way, let's focus on the planning. Of course, there needed to be an outcome, a product to house this project in. I ultimately settled on a website, but I went through a few other ideas as well. Originally, I really wanted to do these infographic style posters where I list information about each mental illness I was going to research. I would probably create a social media account for that or compile them into a book, but apparently that was too easy, so I had to step up my game. Then I thought, maybe a medical journal where my research is basically my product. All I had to do was format it into a book. But I felt like that wasn't accessible. It's very lengthy, a bunch of jargon, and no one likes reading academic papers anyways. Then I had the bright idea to write a novel. Wonder where I got that idea from. A novel, fully fledged with characters and plot and all that. That was beyond me. Plus, I had zero experience. No experience. So that's a no-go. Finally, after all of those prophecies, all of those miscellaneous ideas, I ultimately settled on the website, which is kind of like my original idea of the posters, just interactive, and it's accessible as well, especially now it's the digital age. Everyone knows what websites are. Also considering the big corona, and that was great. And as with all great projects, there needed to be a timeline, a calendar, so to make sure you weren't procrastinating or anything. Was I able to follow this calendar? Sort of. I actually ended up creating a second calendar because I wasn't able to finish the first task because of the summative tasks and projects, which I couldn't avoid sadly. Then I was able to do the next two tasks, but I wasn't able to do the last task because I underestimated the amount of Christmas thing Filipinos do despite my 15 years of overdoing Christmas myself. I finished it around mid-January. Then it was time to get inspiration, otherwise known as condoned plagiarism. To know what I should include for a medical website, I searched up the 3 most famous medical websites. The 3 big guys, the triumvirate of medical websites. Mayo Clinic, WebMD, and Healthline. That could have been more enthusiastic. But anyways, I looked through the stuff, and for each page, I looked at the content and I organized it, and this is what my analysis sketch of what each section contained. And to elaborate further on that, I added my own section in my website, a section comparing normal behavior, normal patterns from that of a disorder. So that's where I feel like you'd see most of my learning, since that information isn't accessible on a lot of websites. Believe me, I've tried Googling it. And of course, there needs to be drafts. With every great project, there's at least 100 drafts to choose from. I had like 4, but 4, it's a good number. It's a good starting point to sketch out my plans and ideas and brainstorming. I also have additional resources like a webinar I joined last September hosted by Miss Camille Faye talking about mental health in the Philippines, which was incredibly informative and surprisingly not boring. I thought I was going to get bored in like 30 seconds and just sleep or something, but luckily that didn't happen. Then there's also this extensive book about mental illnesses titled The DSM-5, which is basically like the Bible of mental illnesses. It's way out of my reach and unsurprisingly boring. So I use it mainly for stuff like statistics, how long to diagnose each mental illness, and their major characteristics. I also created a survey and sent it to my batch to see what are some of the mental health problems or issues I could find, and that helped contextualize my work as well. Lastly, I had sort of a small mini interview with my auntie, Miss Angelique Wu, who is part of an organization, the Education and Development Center, who do mental health advocacies as well. And to finalize this section, let's touch on the criteria. The criteria form the basis of what I want to create, the ideas or the aspirations. I had in mind a scale that would go from 1 to 5, where 1 was being a PowerPoint presentation by an elementary student and 5 being a video. I aimed for at least 4. Here's what my criteria looked like. It included accuracy, understandability, effectiveness, and the website in general. I also created a research journal and worksheet document where I would compile what I learned and my reflections and such, which I'll further discuss later. All of my documents are in a Google Drive folder for organization and accessibility. Now, for the project, there were 2 main sections to creating this, the research and the website creating. And since this is not an art side project, this is more based in research, most of the content we'll be focusing on is the planning right now and the research. So all that's left to do is the research. Research is stressful. And if anyone tells you that they legitimately enjoy doing the research part to any project whatsoever, they're a liar. Or they're a psychopath, and you should stay the hell away from them. But anyways, for the research, I would typically look for websites that end in a .gov, .edu, or .org. That way, they're more likely to be certified and verified that they're reliable, and less likely to be a mom blog who just so happens to be anti-vax. It's a government, education, and organization. Though I did use .com for stuff like stories and quotes, so I just have to hope that they're being truthful. And Google Scholar is an especially helpful search engine since it sifts through a bunch of academic papers, all of which are reliable. And the first-hand information mentioned above was also very helpful. And to give you an example of my research, let's skim through the schizophrenia page. So first what you're gonna do is to open your web browser and type in this link. This will take you to my website, and over on the top you see a tab for mental illnesses. You'll want to click it and click on the psychotic disorders page. This will take you to psychotic disorders, and over on the right you would see a link to the page about schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a psychotic disorder where people interpret reality differently, often having trouble processing information from the senses, sight, hearing, and smell commonly. This affects how the person behaves, feels, and thinks. Commonly this manifests in hallucinations, where the person strongly perceives something that isn't there. This can lead to extreme delusions, where the person strongly believes about an event or connection, commonly with extreme paranoia. And over further down you see a quote. I would have sensory experiences that weren't brought by any stimuli. I would hear voices and people talking to me. I would see people, but they weren't actually there. No one could corroborate my sensory experiences. Before I was not yet educated about the illness, akala ko naman hindi naman importante ang mga family programs. Better off na lang siya nakakonfine. I believed those myths as truths. But now, once their symptoms are addressed, I believe that they should be given this kind of social support and intervention. I feel like that quote is a good quote showing the perspective of someone suffering from schizophrenia and what their social experience was. Here we have how it differs from normal behavior. And since schizophrenia is somewhat of an extreme mental disorder, this part is rather short. And further down, you have common signs, causes such as genetics, the environment, brain structure, as well as the effects such as hallucinations, delusions, lack of self-care, muddled thoughts, difficulty concentrating, and apathy. Here you have different forms such as schizoaffective disorder, which is symptoms of both schizophrenia and mood disorders like depression or bipolar, as well as paraphrenia, like symptoms of schizophrenia starting in a late stage, typically in elderly people. Lastly, we have the do's and don'ts. An example of a do is being there for and listening to their problems, as absurd as they might seem. And one of the don'ts is label them as irrational or crazy. Remember that their senses are heavily affective and they have trouble distinguishing imagination from reality. Lastly, on the left, we have the hotlines, and on the right, we have sources and further reading. Now for the website, of course I'm going to use Wix. Wix, not sponsored, is an online tool that helps you design websites. It's incredibly intuitive, has a variety of tools, and it makes designing a website just really quick to do. And using the drafts from earlier, it wasn't that hard to design a neat little website. There were some bugs here and there, like the pages stopped loading correctly, or the format got as a format, getting all kerfuffled. And I used the name Mental Health because some godless heathens already took the names Mint Health, Minty Health, and Peppermint Health. So there goes my creative juices. But I digress. Like I said, I like this that sounds like mental health and mental health. And mint's mental, they give sort of this relaxing cool aura, which was great for a website about mental illnesses, depending on how you look at it. And I also aimed for this, minty aesthetic vibe as well. And after I was done with the research, all I had to do was copy paste the research document, the text from there, onto my website. And unlike the research, which took anywhere from 3 hours to 3 days to complete per mental illness, the pages only took like 10 minutes. And to keep track of my progress, I also had a journal entry document, which was sort of like a diary, except that I write in it fewer and it doesn't contain any love stories. In there, I would reflect on my progress, bring out memories I find relevant, and write down my current outlook for this project. Doing a website is a tall task, and looking back through my process journal, it was understandable why I had a sort of pessimistic outlook in the beginning. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, all planning out the window. But luckily, I was able to pull through in the end and show you my product. And this project really forced me to think way ahead than I normally do, which is like 3 days before the deadline. For my self-management, that worked really well. This was probably one of the first times I used the calendar to help me, and I find that incredibly useful. And even though self-imposed deadlines don't feel as effective as regular ones, it certainly was a one-up for me. And for the thinking skills, I feel like the normal versus disorder really exemplifies that. Since that information isn't found on a lot of websites, it made me reflect on my learning, the characteristics, different similarities and such. And I feel like research-wise, I was glad I discovered Google Scholar. This research made me focus to find a lot of reliable sources, as I have said earlier, and I think that would help me in the future for many more research tasks to come, as they say, as the wonder closes. Another one opens. Another meaningless statement, but it's a great segue for my video, so I'm using it. Looking back on this project, I would probably rate it a 3.5. It's not perfect, but I like how it turned out. I am happy with how it turned out. Accuracy-wise, I feel like the content I wrote is pretty accurate. I got it all from reliable sources, and I feel like I'm confident that the text is accurate. There might be some minor details here and there that I got slightly wrong, but I don't feel like that impacts the overall understanding and content of the text greatly. I also like the aesthetics of it. I feel like the aesthetics look inviting, it looks pleasing to the eye as well, and the navigation, I made sure that I made the navigation easy to do. A simple click here, click there, and the pages are highlighted well. And I feel like I stayed true to my goals as well, which is to try to fight against misinformation and stigma, because this is a website. Everybody knows what websites are. They're more popular now in the digital age, and so this medium to convey mental health issues, I think, is a good choice. If I were to change one thing, I would probably change the planning, since there were some times where I didn't plan really well and I rushed some parts, but it doesn't I didn't sacrifice the quality of my product for it, and I was able to catch up as well. I feel like I really learned a lot about mental health issues as well. There were some surprising parts, like how schizophrenia is the most common mental illness in the Philippines, and how anorexia is more common in Western industrialized societies. There are also some parts that I can use for myself. For example, I learned that asking someone when you won't talk about problems, you talk about mental health issues, it's important to ask whether they want to talk about it or whether they want a distraction first. It's incredibly powerful and helpful information that made me think more of what the other person might be feeling or what they want. Usually, when we think about talking about problems, we think it's easier and it speeds up the healing process when you talk about problems. While that is also true, the people may not be ready or may not even understand it themselves. So it's great to ask them what they want to talk about first. And I tried to think about that when talking to my friends about problems as well. And I felt happy that I was able to use what I learned to help others. I feel like this project is challenging to say the least. Like what I said, I feel like the skills that I developed, the self management, thinking, research, they were all amplified to an extent. And I feel like I also developed some attributes as well, like being knowledgeable and open minded about these mental health issues. Learning about them, reading about them, and especially reading stories about them helped me deepen my understanding about mental illness and what the people suffering from are truly feeling. And I feel like I also was able to develop caring as well. It's like what I said earlier, I was able to think more about what the other person might be feeling if they have a mental illness, for example, and to know what to do to help them out, when to do it, and how to do it. Well, that closes off this chapter of my life. And before we move on, I would like to give a big shout out to Miss Ankaya. She's an amazing supervisor and helped me out throughout this journey. Was great at helping me organize my documents, and she also suggested the webinar I mentioned earlier, as well as other very helpful resources. So big shout out to her. Well, was it fun? Was it interesting? For that, I can definitely answer. It certainly was an experience, and while the research part was hellish, everything else was interesting. And looking back at the research, I can definitely say that everything I learned was worthwhile. Mental health issues aren't talked about as often. When we think about health, we often think about fitness, diet, exercise, and nutrition. But mental health is just as important. And if everyone just spends 10 minutes, 15 minutes to learn about mental illness, like stop and just read about it, then we can definitely battle against the stigma and misinformation and help the people who really need help. Mental health is just as important as physical health. Thank you.
Hi, I am Wayne, and this is my personal project. So, I am a grade 10 MYP student, and I'm required to make a project about, based on my interest in life, and I have chosen my favorite one, which is gaming. It has been a part of my life when I was like 5 years old, and I have really enjoyed playing games, when I'm really stressed or, I just want to let off some steam, after a hard days of work. And the goal I made is that I will create a game based on Philippine history so that I can make learning very fun. It can be really boring sometimes learning through history because of the teachers being bad at teaching and making history the worst subject ever. But in reality, it can be really fun if they use the right method. So my prior knowledge in making games is that I have like a basic idea of what should be included because I played plenty of games. Um, yeah, that's about it. There's nothing else, and this is one of like a very one of my riskiest move. But I am fine with it because I believe I can handle the workload. The global context that will be connected to my project will be personal and cultural expression. because it is like a way to express my Filipino culture and to show that I really love playing games, that I made a game, you know sh- yeah. So here is the planning stage. After deciding the goal, I have to immediately find like a game engine, because I can't start at all without finding an engine. So I have found like a program called Buildbox, and I actually know this program like when I was younger. I saw this in a YouTube ad, and I actually found interested in it. So I chose Buildbox to that I'll be using for the past few months. And here's a quick entry. And here is the planning of like the content. Based on the pictures that you can see right now, the game would be based on the Battle of Mactan. I chose the Battle of Mactan because the people back then didn't have like really complicated weapons to like program, like the cannons, guns. Oh wait a minute. Oh wait. People use those weapons pala back in that time. But you know, people back then still prefer swords and close quarter combat. So yeah, it's a way for me to make my life easier in this project. So yeah, now I'm gonna take some action. And on the first month of creating in my game, I immediately done research on how to make a game, because I really don't know how each of the program works that is in Buildbox. Even though the ad said that it is very user friendly, it is very not user friendly because like the tutorial wasn't really that detailed in teaching me all those things. But I can still research on my by myself, so it's fine. And after a few weeks, I managed to make like a simple command wherein the characters can move up, down, left, right, and that's it. And over the few months, I've been still doing the same thing over and over. And then by the time of November, I realized that I need to create like a visual for my game. And this is like a nice opportunity for me to say thank you for I would like to say thank you to Tunichi Yasai and Jimmy Asuero for making the visuals of my game. I am very lucky that like my supervisor allowed me to get help for the visuals, the artwork and stuff, since it my project is mainly focusing on creating a game. So it's kind of like a way that I can get help. Um, After like another few weeks, but the game is starting to look like I know what it is right now. There's already like a few levels created. The artwork is already mostly done, and I can convert the box that you see to Lapu Lapu. And yeah, and by the time on January, I managed to finish everything. And I would have just finished the final output right there and now. But I discovered a really bad a bad situ- a bad problem, which is that I couldn't publish it in Google Play Store, since I originally wanted to publish it in Google Play Store, and there's a huge monthly fee that I have to pay, and I couldn't afford it. So I have to find like another way, which is that I can download the game on Windows, so people with Windows users can play my game. So I download it and transfer it to Google Drive, and by the time on February, I have made like a Google Drive folder of the notes, the on how to download the game, so on and so forth. That's basically it. Um, yeah, so that's is my final output of my project, and you can see it right now. Hey guys, so here is the game itself. Yay. um I have already made a progress in my game, so I'll just press continue. The facts, I'll just go here quickly. There's almost like 3 pages worth of facts in here, but you can just look at it yourself if you can download the game. So afterwards, you click on continue, and then there is the game. So here you go. Lapu Lapu is fighting Spaniards. Yeah, that's pretty accurate to the real historical thing. So if you're wondering why there are like dead bodies around like the beach at Mactan, even though I have not killed them myself, it's because based on the history, the tribe men, Lapu-Lapu and his tribe men did an ambush wherein they shoot a bunch of arrows, and it killed a lot of the Spaniards. The Because like the arrows were poisonous, and it killed them really quickly, and many died in the process. So here you go. Here, I'll make a quick demonstration of what happens when, Lapu-Lapu dies. That was a very interesting showcase right back there. So we're gonna move on to reflection, and this is like a criteria I made for people to assess my game, and here are the reviews. Most of them are positive, which is quite surprising because I expected something lower like 2 or 1, but I'm glad people enjoyed it. So for my self-assessment, I believe the controls, I think it deserves a 3 because it is very user-friendly. It is, user-friendly for PC users out there. And, I even made like uh com- a secret control wherein you can use the simple up, down, left, right, you know, in case that the player is not used to the WASD controls and stuff. But I didn't really mention it in the game, so um yeah, that's why I get a 3. I should have mentioned it in the game, then people would know, and people can take advantage of it. So afterwards, the game story, I think I should get a 3 because of like the plot being quite a little bit detailed, even though it's like very short. It managed to tell like a bit of a story of like what's happening during the invasion, like the dead Spaniards. It is like it's like showing that they have died from an ambush that islanders made, and so on and so forth. Then next gameplay, I think it deserves a 2. Even though it is my first ever game I made, it is not really the best. The gameplay is not really the best, since like the challenges, there weren't that many, and the only real challenge that for players and myself is the boss. And even then, it is I can still easily beat him. That's why it's slightly not that you know good compared to like other games, but at least I gotta start somewhere. Afterwards, in my graphics, I would give it a 3 because the graphics looks really nice and it's very eye appealing. There's only like the only thing that lacks is like yung tiny details in the characters. Like for example, in Lapu Lapu, he could have gotten a few tattoos. It's like a social status. It's like a social status for the islanders back in Mactan. It is like a way to show that you are really powerful, and you're really efficient at killing people and all those things. Yeah, it would have been nice to add them in, but I have no time, so yeah, that's why I give it a 3. Then lastly, the information, I think it should get a 4, since the facts section in the information, there were like plenty of them. Because like there's both historical fact and trivial facts about the Battle of Mactan. Like the one wherein they use Magellan's head as a way to bring fear to future invaders that would invade their country. It's like a warning sign before they actually attack. And then the trivial fact is that President Duterte wants to make Lapu-Lapu more recognized in the Philippines. Um that's it. You can read more if you actually played my game. So now I want to talk about my most used IB learner profile, which is risk taker, inquiry, knowledgeable, and balance. Risk taker, it's basically it's my whole personal project because I have made like a really risky move of choosing creating a game because I have never created a game in my entire life, and this is my first time. This is really risky, but I managed to pull it off. Now, inquiry and knowledgeable, um, because I have no knowledge in making a game. I have to be really creative, and I need to be very knowledgeable at at many things. Like I need to be creative on how I get, like how to like gather information and ask all these kinds of questions, and knowledgeable. I have to be smart and have a basic understanding of how the program works. And lastly, balance. uh Even though I still have a personal project, I still need to do like maintain my grades for my other class, since it wouldn't really matter if I need to make it balanced. So I kind of struggle a little bit in balancing my personal project and my grades, but I managed to like keep it like my progress in my project really good, and my grades are decent. And for the ATL skills, please ignore the right side that says there are ATL skills that were effectively used. I meant to say there are ATL skills that were least effectively used. So yeah, the ATL skills that I effectively use are research skills, thinking skills, social skills, and communication skills, because I have managed to like use it to their fullest potential and make my personal project a little bit more easier to to go through. Well, self management, I could use a little bit of improvement there because um yeah, sometimes I would get frustrated at all the work and I would like to take a break, even though I could have like do something more productive. But it's still manageable at least. And yeah, that's about it. um as an IB learner student, I have to say that you know I have improved a lot in using the ATL skills and using the IB learner profile effectively. I am really glad that this project has made me learn a lot of things. Like number one, I can now make a game. Number two, I can use all the IB learner profile effectively now. Unlike before, I had a hard time using one or two of them. And in the ATL skills, I still need a few improvements on like my on self management skills, but I can work it off. And yeah, that's about it. So that's about it. Thank you for watching this video of my personal project. I hope you get the chance to play my game. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you. Bye.
Dedication, determination, and discipline. These are the 3 Ds that the students need to successfully accomplish their personal projects. Good day, everyone. I am Mr. Alvin Antonio, a personal project supervisor of 4 brilliant students. For the past months, it has been very difficult to keep our sanity, especially that we just have shifted to the online learning. But these students thrive to show that they can and they will flourish whatever circumstances they may experience. It is my pride to introduce to you my mentees, starting off with John Adrian Tudao. We've known him for being passionate and dedicated in creating artworks. But this time, we leveled it up by holding external consultation sessions with a museum curator. Let's check it out.
Hi everyone, I am John Adrian Tudao and I am from 10JG. For this particular project, my goal is to create artworks that express myself, the lessons and experience I have been through, and the way for me to share my thoughts that could possibly help someone. The medium I will be using is acrylic paint since I am really interested in trying that medium. But first things first, I would like to introduce myself. I have been drawing and doing art since I was very young and it became my hobby. I have already used many mediums such as oil pastels, gouache, watercolors, and others. I also have an Instagram account that features my digital artworks. My username is stated in the slide, so if you would like to follow, thank you. I painted as many artworks that I can from the past few months that feature the experience that I have gone through that expresses who I am today. So based on the data I have gathered, here are the dates when I created each artwork. I spent a total of 116 days completing those artworks. I did not make a schedule or how often I create each piece, but I just create my artworks whenever I remember or think of something good to share. The global context that I chose to explore is personal and cultural expression. In this context, I will express myself along with my feelings based on the artworks that I will be creating. In this project, I will express myself in understanding myself and being able to construct ideas and form it into visual interpretations creatively. Taking action. For the past months, I have completed 12 artworks. I haven't gotten any videos of me painting since I tend to forget while painting. After painting, my supervisor hired a professional curator to help me curate my paintings and give advice. Here are some of the screenshots that Sir took in the meeting. This is also the time-lapse of me curating the artworks. For the past couple months, I've been painting as well as learning new things. I believe I got better in doing the strokes and techniques. Tried every stroke that I could put so that I could do better and be better. One of the lessons that I have realized in this project is that my mind works differently when I am mindful. I started practicing mindfulness not long ago and I applied it today when I am creating artworks, and it did work. The other one is that I finally let go of some things that I keep. I think that this project helped me to form a better mindset, not just to be able to experience using acrylic paint and improve on that medium. Reflecting. Starting off with the rubric I made to grade myself. The criteria that I used are planning and execution when the plan should be thoroughly followed during the creation of the work. Neatness by the quality of the artwork, whether it is properly organized, followed by creativity. Next is self-satisfaction, wherein the artist is satisfied with the plan, execution, subjects of the artwork. Lastly, the techniques applied. On the self-satisfaction part, I graded most of my paintings from 6 to 7 out of 8 since I am really proud of the outcome of every canvas that I filled with my ideas. Experience. I had a hard time finishing some of my artworks
since I am still trying new techniques I can apply and the time given to me with the space provided. It was really hard at first since the materials haven't arrived here yet and I need to start working on my personal project. By the way, on my first artwork, Modern Sky, I just used the paints that I can find inside the house since the new paints that I bought haven't arrived yet. So the two paintings that I really like most are Neutral and Teardrops on my canvas. For this painting, I entitled it as Neutral because the painting itself is abstract as well as its message. In this artwork, we can clearly see the colors green and yellow. Green symbolizes the negative things in life, whereas the yellow represents the positive ones. If you would make a portrait, the sky on the left symbolizes how you present yourself to the outside world, as if you are only filled with positive things and hides the negative ones, or being perfect. The sea on the right symbolizes how some people understand the deeper you. There are people who know you and others who understand you. There is this place in this world where we can share our beautiful experiences as well as bad situations. This artwork indicates two worlds that we lived in. I also like this because I did not use any brushes to create this artwork. I just used a palette knife. Next is Teardrops on my canvas. This is my favorite among the artworks that I have created in this project. The ocean symbolizes the eyes, filled with tears and facing a blue sky. The blue sky symbolizes the environment and situation. The land can symbolize eyelashes with some tears that fell from the eyes. It indicates that sometimes we won't be okay. We'll be crying because of the things that we see. Our vision and situation may sometimes be blurred and blue. If we are not well, we think of limitless reasons to be blue and sad, but even if we think of many reasons to be sad, it will still end at some point. The ocean won't be cold always. After some time and waves of sadness, the sun will rise and it will be beautiful. Here are the rest of my artworks. We have here Modern Sky, Horizon, Heaven, 8 Waves, Clear Path, Blue Moon, Satisfaction, Unclear, Space, and lastly, Contemporary. Here are the artworks that I created. Overall, I really had fun accomplishing this project and it's a lot of work over these months. I am proud of myself that I finished this project. I would also like to thank the people who helped me along with this project. Thank you everyone for listening and I hope you enjoyed my content. Bye!
Up next, Charlene Chloe Lau. She will be talking about happiness. Happiness that personal project was able to give her. Through designing tote bags, she was able to connect more to her friends and to an external organization, making this experience a project for a cause. Let's check out her amazing tote bags.
Happiness can get it from a lot of things, either when we give joy to other people or when we receive joy. But there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, as everlasting happiness not only fills you up, but other people's lives too. In these hardest and trying times, we're taught that by loving ourselves, we can show love to others. Ever since the world has faced a global battle with COVID-19, many people around the world have suffered losses and dealt with several other problems due to the pandemic's impact, which leads to why I, Charlene Lau, will be dedicating my project in helping JW.org in raising funds, as every person in the community deserves the help they need.
But wait.
Firstly, how can I bring joy to others? I don't even know for sure what makes me happy. To consider, I'm just a regular teen student who barely communicates with anyone else except for her friends or family, which I don't even have a lot. So how will I ensure that I can achieve this goal? How much more can I take to ensure that I can bring happiness to other people in this community? To add more information about this issue, it is difficult to come up with the right solution and idea on how I'll raise funds with my own hard work. And planning is at such a young age, I have less knowledge and understanding about business and other professionalism. Perhaps our hobbies and interests can bring us contentment at all times. Because of our interests, we tend to be more knowledgeable about it, and most importantly, we become creative. These interests and hobbies are our inspirations behind our successes in life. As I grew, I took interest in arts, mainly drawing, doodling, painting, and crafting. If I want to influence others with joy, then I had to make sure I knew how to influence my own. Which is why this led me to an idea. What if I connected my hobbies, my possible way to happiness, to a growing small business? Is that a good idea? Maybe not. As much as possible, I do not want to limit myself to do something for educational purposes only, but to do something good for the community and the people. Speaking of the community, let's talk about the Philippines. The Philippines has faced plenty of challenges throughout the years. One immense and progressing problem in the country, for example, is pollution. 98% of the country is affected due to air pollution and 70% from water pollution. Did you know that the Philippines ranks as the third biggest polluter with 2.7 million plastic waste generated each year? Plastic, the most used packaging application worldwide, and one of the main causes of pollution is due to plastic and littering. But as the people by generation become innovative, our goal now is to eliminate plastic from Earth. As a student, I can do a few or less, but it's never more than nothing. One great life-changing solution that people have thought, for example, are eco-friendly bags, like tote bags. Tote bags nowadays are trendy because of their convenience. A bag that's lightweight, versatile, made with strong fabric are most preferable for people nowadays. Tote bags are very well known for their canvas-made fabric and coming with various sizes where buyers can choose from. But tote bags nowadays have also become famous because of their multiple aesthetic designs. You can print your preferred design and use it on a daily basis wherever you go. And because of this fascinating fact, people adore tote bags for its great convenience and fashionable handbag option too. This is where the idea comes in, where the business comes in. Tote bags are made out of canvas, which means you can draw or even paint on it just like acrylic. But instead of using acrylic, there's what we call fabric or textile paint that we use on painting fabric-made products. If I enjoyed my hobby so much, then I thought of something that would be just the right project for me, which leads us to an introduction to my product, hand-painted or personalized tote bags. To begin with my planning, I first take deep research, like for example, answering questions like what type of designs are commonly liked by people, what art style and technique is applied in these, what sizes are convenient, and after studying and analyzing these, we now go to how hand-painted tote bags actually work. I found good websites or videos on how to paint on canvas bags, how to take care of these, and what to do when mistakes suddenly happen, because I need to make sure what I'm about to do in the process. It's called being prepared. I prepared my brushes, paints, bags, and all other essentials needed to conduct this project afterwards. And I've learned in this planning stage that it is crucial to know what you're going for. This is a stage where you are exploring and familiarizing yourself with what your industry is all about and how it works. As you learn, you're able to develop new advantages such as new strategies, new techniques, and new possibilities. This project, I had my longtime art teacher who accompanied me in several parts of my project. I maintained a close contact with her as we frequently met and did artwork together. Well before the pandemic, she was able to provide me important information and techniques to be applied when it comes to the bags. She had great knowledge about these topics since she painted on several objects like tote bags as well. She was experienced, and because of how exploring and curious she is, it influenced my mind to do the same. I I started drafting, thinking of what designs would initially be released. As I mentioned, people nowadays prefer simpler designs rather than those with big details and color. But as much as I do want to catch up with trends, I also want to do something different. Simple tote bags are convenient enough to make customers happy. But what more can I give? How can I add something else than there already is in these bags? In arts, we've learned that every artwork can have its own meaning, whether it's a tie, a bird, or anything else. I'm not a confident person, but I can make confident characters and drawings, which is why I decided to make every tote bag meaningful as much as possible. The more a bag has its message, the more the customer will grow attraction to it. It is my objective to share and spread joy for this personal project, and I want to share what I feel with others as well. Joy, sadness, anger, disgust, or any human feeling we feel frequently. I want people to feel something else while they're walking with their bags. Something memorable, perhaps. There I started off with my first collection, the gummy bears. Gummy bears, they come up with multiple flavors. Most of us enjoy eating gummy bears, considering it as a happy pill. In my first collection, 7 colorful, different yet lovable bears are being introduced to the world. Each bear had their own personalities. Particularly, these are the usual types of people we meet everywhere or somewhere at a time in our lives. Designs like these were developed through my own personal experiences in meeting different types of people. Like I said, I'm not someone who talks a lot. I barely interact with anyone, but I can bring my inner thoughts through my hobbies. Having to invent my own characters taught me that it's difficult to come up with your own style. As a knowledge young artist, it is important to note the objectives in creating your own character, not just through visuals, but basing it on their personalities. And these objectives I've learned were developed through numerous drafting, research regarding related websites about these, and as well as pictures for inspiration. After the gummies, I then started receiving requests from customers. They asked if I accepted commissions or personal requests, and I was quite hesitant as I've never done requests for anyone, but I thought of who I was doing this for. If this was worth the hard work and risk to give back to our helpless people, I knew I had to take it. Every bag had its own different style, meaning to say it took me a lot of thinking on how I'll adjust in doing various styles at the same time. As the bags were done and finalized, I had to make sure it went over my standards. With that, I created an assessment criteria that guides me in grading my bags based on 4 criterions: neatness, creativity, time spent, and feelings towards my work. These 4 criterions are important factors that each bag has to surpass from before being sold to the customers. Stage is done as it is essential to know whether the product is convenient or not. That way, we can ensure better feedback and increase chances of purchase and satisfaction. 90% of the bags have been graded with high results and were successfully sold to the public. On the other hand, 10% of the bags had small mistakes by details which caused deduction in points. But you know, the great thing about fabric paint is that you can easily cover up smudges, stains, or little mistakes with white paint, which was my ultimate solution to every stain problem. So in the end, all bags were eligible to be sold and promoted in the public. I've learned that painting on canvas bags take a lot of patience and experimentation to know which color mixture is most suitable for a particular design or how to draw properly on a bag. Another thing that I've noticed about fabric paint is when it dries, the color seems to be darker than usual. But these issues allowed me to explore deeper in what I'm learning about. It opened me to a door of opportunities like improving my skills, to give better service, and of course, accepting imperfections. In every successful career, there are always unsuccessful times made within the process. I was afraid of making mistakes. It lowered my self-esteem. I was afraid because I didn't like being looked down to. It made me look like a failure, and due to that, pressure was circling around half of my project, and I considered it as one challenge that I had to face until I just realized that the more pressure I put to myself, the more it worsens my anxiety. And putting pressure to yourself means bringing yourself into higher standards, and I realized that it wasn't appropriate to feel that way. If my objective is to show love to others, how can I do that when I'm not even displaying and treating myself as one? The impact this has brought to my project and to myself was a cool turning point, because without that realization hitting me, I would have failed showing what I wanted to show everyone. And starting from there, I keep going and I face no regrets, because I realized and I was sure that this was something I was truly passionate about. In the end, I describe my products as a source of relief and comfort. Not only does that go to me, but also to my customers. Just allowing myself to explore with unusual techniques and skills made me realize that life's too short to waste every chance offered to us. As I explored my personal interest, it made me realize that these really are the things that bring joy to me. We all have to go through narrow roads, but in the end, we'll all find our way to our rightful and destined places. I was convinced by this project that we all have to make sacrifices in order to have a better outcome. As a growing learner, I've also developed my ATL skills throughout the project, such as self-management. As a business owner, I'm required to take my responsibility seriously. I always have to give availability to my work with the right amount of time. A time to list orders, draft orders, finalize orders, and pack orders accordingly. In addition, a better service requires better management. As I began my small business, I was also able to develop my research skills. Information literacy is essential, as I had to be knowledgeable in what I was about to do. Because of these skills, I was able to develop effective marketing strategy and develop narratives in business. I was almost never interested in taking this project, as I knew I missed something in myself. But throughout the project, a young woman who was even clueless about herself was able to find a piece of her, a piece she never knew she needed to carry on for the rest of her life. And that is courage. Courage to motivate one's soul, the courage to accept failing times, and the courage to fight. I managed to be a risk taker, as not only did I do it for the benefit of reflecting to myself, but also for others. I put myself into an unfamiliar situation, but because of the empathy I tend to show to our brothers and sisters, that unfamiliar situation became a blooming place to receive joy for people. Showing care is another principle that I've shown throughout the project, not only to the people, but also to nature that deserves a better living and condition than it is now. I was once a doubtful girl who never really believed in herself, never accepted compliments, never felt a sense of satisfaction in her own achievements. I once started to lose interest in my own hobbies because I thought I was never gonna get any better at it. But because of the inspiration I took from the frontliners, from the small business owner, from the people who work incredibly hard to help contribute for a better generation in the future, I come to where I stand today. My experience in business, it just touches my heart to see customers happy with their dream bags, especially to know that I had the honors to do it for them. Aside from finding happiness in painting, I've also found happiness in the people around me. And that's how I was able to spread joy to others. Sweet Peach Studios, a store guaranteed to make your day sweet. The name comes from the word itself, peach. Peaches are well known for their heart-looking shapes, referring to love. As COVID-19 has taken over the world, we've learned that love heals and eases every heartbreak and pain we go through. But most importantly, we've learned how to find our true selves with the pandemic's given time. We've all realized how self-love is important in these times. And when we learn how to show love to ourselves, we can show love to others the same way as we do to ourselves.
My next mentee is Clyde Verbita. He decided to design shirts because he is simply a fan of fashion. But wait, he does not only want to design shirts for the sake of its aesthetics, but to give an impact to anyone who will be seeing it. Come and think with me as we view his shirt designs.
Hi everyone, and for today, I will be talking about my personal project. So without further ado, let's get started. Here is an introduction to my personal project or its concept. One of the most important things you can do in this earth is to let people know they are not alone. Helping others is not only good for them and a good thing to do, it also makes us happier and healthier too. Reaching out to someone gives us a different perspective that can help us put certain things in the rightful place. Reaching can help us sort our feelings and thoughts. In these toughest times, it is important to take note of what others are going through and feeling because there are many who are struggling and are facing certain kinds of social issues on their own. So here are my table of contents. For the first part of this presentation, I'll be taking you guys on a tour on how I initially planned this project. And for the second part, I'll be sharing with you guys my process of development of my product and how I took action and as well as lastly, my learnings and findings in doing this project. So let's go. So let's first talk about my goal. My goal for this project is, as there are a lot of people who are facing certain kinds of social issues on their own, I wanted to create something that can help me advocate and raise awareness about the bigger issue of social movement and causes, ways in which I can be able to express my ideas, opinions, and message to help me reach out to them. I mean by them is the people who are facing certain kinds of social issues on their own, with or through the means of designing a creative yet meaningful t-shirt design. With this being the case, I, Clyde Kirbytang, thought of coming up with something relevant that can help people, or help me, actually, help me convey and represent my message and opinion on different social movement and causes. Additionally, this project is important to me because I want to be able to create a shirt design where people of all kinds can seek comfort, warmth, and see it as a concept in which they can relate their experience to. Moving on, here is the global context I am going to explore during this project: personal and cultural expression, ways in which we discover and express ideas, feelings, natures, and beliefs. So this global context is related to my personal project as I'll be designing a shirt that includes ways in which I'll be expressing my ideas, feelings, natures, and beliefs about a certain issue. So this is one of the reasons on why I chose this project. I was inspired to choose this as my platform because it sparked an interest in me that made me think and decide why not do something for the people who are affected by certain kinds of social issues, even if it's just little. Hence, I decided to why not dedicate my hopefully delicate product or outcome to them, as they are the main reasons behind what motivated me to work as on this as my personal project. I want them to benefit the most and exploit the most out of my efforts that I will put into my final product. And for the next part of my presentation, we have investigating. This is my rubric or criteria in which I'll be using to assess my product. For the first row, we have neatness, which basically measures if there are glitches to be seen and if the placement of my design is neatly put in the shirt or is effective. For the second row, we have design effort and application of prior knowledge in design. This tends to measure my creativity, originality, and if I was able to apply and use my knowledge with color and patterns, and if I was also able to demonstrate a proper understanding in designing. Next, we have time management and planning and execution. This basically measures if I was able to get things done by time and by the deadline. It also measures if I am not the type of guy who adjusts regularly for deadlines or work responsibilities because of management. Next, we have overall design, and this measures if my design is attractive in terms of design layout, neatness, dominance, rhythm, and moreover. Lastly, we have attractiveness and quality. This basically measures if my work is attractive or not. It also it also measures if I was able to provide a work of a high quality. So for my project process timeline, the procedure that I initially planned to make my product successful is first and foremost to think of ideas and get inspiration from social issues that I'll be focusing on for my design, and then sketch it, which is the next part. This is because I online, okay, gets. Ito na talaga. Pag sinabi ko, ito na talaga, ito na yun. Tingnan mo. Isang take lang to ha. 3, 2, 1. Action direct. So for my project process timeline, first of, oh my god. So for my project process timeline, first and foremost, I think of ideas and get inspiration from social issues in which I will be focusing for my design and then sketch it or draw them. In line with this, I wanted to be able to create something that is unique, yet could still emphasize the focal point of the image I want to render. And after exploring the possibilities of my design, I took note if it can be considered as a good or adequate design that can be able to convey the things I wanted to show or say. And after finalizing my sketches or drafts, I research about the application I'll be using to further understand how it works or its features. Then right after that, I begin to digitally draw it using the application I chose and work on to improve it more until it comes to the point where the image I want to render and convey becomes more clear and polished by adding extra details to it. So as this whole process goes, the last part for me is to map out the designs I made and associate and connect it with a t-shirt. Then transform or turn my ideas into reality and make it tangible if possible. But due to some quarantine restrictions, it limited what I initially opted to do. And this forced me to use another way of shirt printing method instead, and that is to use silk screen printing instead, and as well and heat press to accomplish the making of my product and outcome. With the plan that I made, I learned that things won't always go the way you want it to, which is why always having a second option beforehand can help you stay on the right track of where you want to go with what you want to achieve or accomplish. Let me show to you some of my sketches. So this is the first part of my project process timeline. Then initially, I begin to digitalize it and add some tone or colors to it, as well as polish it more. So let me talk about how I practice self-management for this project. I focused my time, energy, and abilities on a single task at any given moment. I complete each task fully first before moving on to another so that I can properly manage my time and effort efficiently. I also try my best to practice patience because patience is a virtue, as they say, and maintain a sense of calm so I can think clearly and objectively of the things I want to achieve and do. This being said, let's I this being said, let me tell you guys about the meanings hidden in each of my designs. Let's start with the upper left corner. The girl hiding her face from those pointy fingers. So this design basically symbolizes discrimination It tells us the story of a person who is being discriminated against the people who has the same race or color as her. She is being judged by the people for being herself, and that forces her to hide herself and seek for a place where she can find comfort, warmth, and feels like she belongs and is accepted. Eventually, she finds comfort with her hair. Her long hair symbolizes her growth and it protects her from the people pointing at her. Her hair also became her companion as they grew together to become stronger, that the they could face the discrimination against they can face. And next, we have the three designs in the middle. As you can see, it resembles the colors of the rainbow or it uses the colors of a rainbow. So let me first begin by talking about the meaning of the design in the middle. For this design, it tells us a story about acceptance. The dragon, which is floating, can symbolize that it is free. So, I mean by this is that people who are not accepted for who they are or who they want to be slowly starts to drift away from the society or community in which they are in. Moreover, they often seek for a place where they can freely express themselves and show their true colors. A place where they can feel like they are worthy and they deserve to belong. As if you look closely, you can see that the dragon is holding a stick. This stick is a flag that represents the LGBT community, as you can see from the colors itself. In addition, this design itself also represents and wants to tell us to be the you, the one you've always been proudly. The meaning of this is don't be afraid to show who you are, your true colors, and be proud to show that version of you. The same goes with the two other designs at the bottom, the same concept, but I will no longer explain the meaning behind this as they are quite similar as well. Moving on, for the last one we have the upper right corner. So this design, the line in the middle, which covers half of the face in the black filter, represents racism. To be specific, the shaded portion of the design shows the prejudice, discrimination, and hatred directed at someone because of their color, ethnicity, or national origin, while the other half shows how we are all different from each other. We each have different skin colors, come from different races, and we come from different backgrounds. While the other portion basically symbolizes like the unity of all colors into one, meaning no matter where we come from or no matter our skin color, we are all the same. We are humanity, which is why we should stand or come all together as one, which is also one of the mere reasons why we should learn to understand and respect each other. That's it for the meanings for my final product. Now, moving on, let me discuss to you how my product was able to answer my inquiry questions. My inquiry question is, how can the design of a shirt help me spread awareness and help me cause an impact about the different kinds of social issues that are still relevant today? So as a knowledgeable student, I will make sure to gather and apply the necessary information that is needed in designing. I think that in order to make a shirt that can help me spread awareness, there should be a clear message that can be understood by the people whom you want to reach out to. Moreover, the design also needs to have a solid grasp on design principles, but also understand my audience, wearability, and effectiveness. So me myself, I personally like designing and expressing my ideas into creating something unique and for a good cause that can be beneficial not only for me but also for them or for others. Moving on to the last part of my presentation, finally, we have reflection. Now, let me talk about what I learned in doing this project and how I improved as an IB learner. So, through this project, I learned that helping others is important as it can result in happiness while making others around me happy as well. As a result, this leads to reduced depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Studies say that offering help has a stronger positive impact on mental health than if you are receiving help while creating a community environment that reduces feelings of isolation. Moreover, I learned how to be more efficient in terms of utilizing and balancing my time with schoolwork and personal projects. I used and applied several learner profiles in doing this project, such as being knowledgeable and open-minded. I think that that knowledge is one of the most important things that we have. And as my products and or as my project involves designing, I was able to learn that a tool doesn't make us a better designer, but having proper knowledge and understanding of design does, and that no amount of features in a design tool will make our design or my design work more effective. Overall, I was able to expand and widen my knowledge and understanding about the different aspects of design and the importance of helping. This experience in doing this project, in which I gained, helped me to be a more efficient and productive learner. Moving on to the next part of my presentation, we have taking action. Here are my final products, and these are the questions I'm about to answer. First and foremost, let me enlighten you all or share my answer about how I feel about my product. I feel confident and proud about my products as I was able to effectively and efficiently express my ideas, opinions, thoughts, and was able to convey a message in a effective way through the means of designing and by creating a final outcome, which is a t-shirt that can be worn by everyone and a place where they can seek warmth. So, let me explain the meanings behind these designs. So, here is my product evaluation. Before I end this presentation, sadly, this is the two of the products in which I love the most. And that is because I think that overall, this design just, oh, bro, it was able to convey and effectively express my message in which I want to be able to help me reach out on the people on whom I want to target so that they can finally see or seek for something in which they can relate their experience to. And but in terms of seriousness, I gave this product an overall 7 or 6 to 7, and that is because of how neatly it was polished and guess what? How it was made. And that wraps it up, guys. Thank you for listening to my presentation. This has been Clyde. Once again, see you on my next presentation. Good luck, guys, and remember to stay hydrated. Love you guys. Good night.